Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. This podcast was designed to let you know that you aren't the only one that took forever to get it together. So the rabbit hole that you have stumbled down will hopefully help you understand that just when you think it's over, it's only the beginning. Just because you were dealt a bad hand doesn't mean you have to keep it. Welcome to the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.
Hey, what's going on? It's popping and cracking. Happy whatever day of the week it is. I think it's Tuesday. I always forget what day of the week is. But hey, it's your boy. I'm back. I figure I do another couple of episodes before the premiere of the panel edition on Sunday. And then my wife and the kids are out of town, so I better take advantage of it while they're out of town. So happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. This is episode 16 of the origin. I think I'm going to take, you know how, if anybody out there is that has watched this, or that watches Star Wars, right? I'm going to do like they do in Star Wars, and they have the main movies, and then they have the side stories. You know, it's like, you know, the revenge of the Solo or whatever was a side story in that movie. And so I think I'm going to do that in on today's episode, right? Because I want to go over something, and this is, where I was at, right? A little bit of transparency too. So Melissa and I that's my third wife, my current wife, my honey, my boo-boo, all that, my flame right here. We're together, and but we weren't married. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend. We were actually kind of strangers going into this situation, and we were kind of thrust into a relationship. I mean, I don't think it was so much of a thrust. I think she was. I would say this, and I could be wrong. And you know, if you guys ever get a chance to talk to her, ask her. You know what I'm saying? Did you really feel for Terry as you did when you first got into it? I had to admit there were parts of it was like, you know, at some point I was thinking to myself, going, "What was I thinking? What am I doing? what am I doing here?" You know. There wasn't a moment of regret, though. I would say that there wasn't a moment of regret. It was like, oh, man, this is weird. You know, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. You know, I didn't know anybody. I was on the strength of these people that knew my wife and knew my girlfriend, not me. And we had people that we ran with. When we first got to Idaho, well, she ran with that I was kind of forced to run with because she was running with them. And, you know, we thought that we had some friends, all right? So I just want everybody to listen to this because, you know, be mindful of the circle you keep. Be mindful of the people you run with, right? Because everybody ain't for you, right? But I'm going to try to go through it quick because we were there, like I said, 5 years. And I could pack about 10 episodes in the 5 years that we were there, but I'm not going to do that, right? Excuse me. So when we first got there, I mean, like I said, we didn't know anybody. You know, I'm working in a casino dealing blackjack part-time, and I was a part-time pit boss. Now, for those of you that have been listening to this and never been to a casino before, that's too bad. You should go. And then there are people that are listening to this that, okay, I know what a pit boss is. I know what dealers do. And you might even be in the profession. It was different. I knew nothing of the game. I never played a hand of blackjack before I went out there. And so going from not playing a hand of blackjack to now having to learn the game and then learn how to count and pay out money, that was hard. And math, if anybody knows me well, math has never been my strong suit. So it was hard. It was hard, man. One of the stories I always tell when people ask me about dealing with blackjack in a casino for the first time, it was it was daunting, man. I mean, let me tell y'all something. I barely got through dealer school. You know what I'm saying? And, when you go and start to play blackjack or to deal blackjack or what have you, you go through dealer school because you have to learn how to deal. You have to learn how to cut the cards. You got to learn as a certain way you do it through the casino. You got to learn how to count the payouts. You got to learn how to, and that thing was hard. Now that thing was hard. It was just one of those transitional things that I had to do, moving to this new place. And the last I remember, there were 3 in the history of Cactus Pete's. That's the name of the casino that I worked for. Cactus Pete's, out in Jackpot, Nevada. In that history of that particular casino, there were 3 pit bosses, and that was that third one that were black. Everybody else has been Caucasian or what have you. So let me tell you the side story. All right, so I'm going through dealer school, and I'm sucking. You know what I'm saying? Now, it was so much pressure, right? You have to understand the pressure, the level of pressure that I was on because, I'm out there on the strength of someone who never met me, that never knew me from home to one. Like I said, knew Melissa, knew, my girl at the time. They knew her. They knew of her. They ran with her. They didn't know me, right? So I wanted to make sure I didn't make a fool out of myself and those people that have faith enough in me to give me a job for a man living cross country. Jokers didn't know me, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't know I was black till I got there. You know what I'm saying? But so I'm in dealer school and I'm struggling, right? There was a manager. Her name was Terry too. I think Terry West. I think it was her last name. I can't remember her last name now, but she was boss. She was mean, right? But she was boss, and she saw that I was struggling, and she pulled me out. What she did was this is what broke me, is that we was getting ready to do our final test before we were cut loose to go on the floor, and of course, if anybody goes through dealer school for anything casino, if you don't pass dealer school, they fire you because there's no need to keep you. Because if you can't count or you can't deal, then they let you go. So I was nervous, pressure. I'm like, I'm gonna let my girl down. I'm gonna let the people that that help me get this job. I'm gonna let them down. I mean, so it was a lot of pressure. So I went to dealer school, and like I said, I'm failing miserably because I can't count. And when I say count, I mean like if you go to and sit down at the blackjack table, you put your bet up there. You want to make sure you get paid correctly if you win, right? Or a side bet or whatever. You want to make sure you get paid correctly. Those were hard. So in my final test, so Terry comes in, her, Eric, and Chris, and they were all the higher ups in the casino where we worked. It was Eric. He was second in command. Chris was the first guy, and then Terry was one of the managers, along with Eric. And shout out to Rachel Seaman. That's who got me the job there, and she was my dealer school teacher. And she we're going through, and I'm like I said, failing. I keep repeating it because I want to show you how major that I was failing. And Terry made me cry. In the last meeting that we've had, the last test, she made me cry, and I know people listen to me like, you a pussy. Yeah, I don't think I'm a pussy, but I was emotional, that's for sure. And I said I'm gonna fail at this on the, and I barely made it through to the school. So this was back in June 2016. And the reason why I can remember that with significance is because my first day on the floor was July the 4th of 2016. July the 4th of 2016. Now that's the 4th of July. Everybody's there. Casino's packed. I didn't know. Nervous as all get out. Now, in the casino, right, you can't make any sudden movements. You know, if you're behind the table, if you're into the chips or anything like that, you cannot make any sudden moves behind the table because the cameras are always watching. You know what I'm saying? Always. So you got the eye in the sky. So I remember July the 4th, my shift started. I worked the second shift. And they put me on a $5 table. Thank God it was a single deck table. Right? Single deck is easy because you only have one deck of cards in your hand. The odds are to the house. You know what I'm saying? The more cards you get, the more odds, the less the odds are for the house. So they put me on my first single deck table. When I tell y'all, and I had a packed table, it was not like 2-3 mofos. The table sat 6 or 7, and it was packed. Everybody was in a chair. It was 4th of July weekend. So when I tell you, man, I made a complete fool out of myself, and I started sweating, and I just couldn't contain. It was just the anxiety was killing me. Right? So the first mistake that I made was I think one of my guys put up a side bet, and he hit it, and I didn't pay it out right. And I mean, this was within the first 5 minutes of me hitting the table, and it was like, yeah, who is dude? Where you come from? But eventually I settled down, and I learned how to deal the game. I learned how to do double deck, and then I learned how to deal from a six deck shoe, which was fun. I love dealing from the six deck from the shoe. Anyway, I said all that to say this is that the beginning of our journey in Idaho was extremely tough, right? Because I was trying to figure out who I was. I tried to figure out what was I doing in Idaho. Did I make the right decision? So the first 6 months to a year that we were there, I questioned everything to myself because I never said anything out loud because it was just easier not to. It was easier to like I said, I was still dabbling in social media at this point. I was still doing Periscopes. Periscope was a lifesaver for me. That's why it broke my heart when they folded over there at Periscope. But when Twitter decided to not deal with it anymore. I remember, speaking of Periscope, and then I think about this, and this all goes back to what I'm talking about here. When I first started doing Periscope, I was living with Courtney. That you heard about her from the last episode, and me and Courtney broke it up. Courtney was doing her life. I was doing my life on her couch. So I picked up Periscope, and the first person, there were 2 people on Periscope that kept me afloat and sane, and that was Dr. Walter Sims and Jamila Corbett. It was those 2. I met one of my best friends on there, A.D. Walker. I met him on there too, but Dr. Walter Sims and Jamila Corbett, those 2. Dr. Walter Sims had, he would do services or, virtual services on Periscope. He was the first Perry Church. And I used to go into his Periscope every single night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. And I would go in there and I would stay in his scope. And, there were times where I needed to hear every syllable of what he was saying in that scope, And Jamila was just inspirational, Now, both of these people I've interviewed on my podcast previous. You have to go find those. Dr. Sims. I don't think I did Dr. Sims. We did Dr. Sims when I was doing Brothers Who Talk with AD. But I'd interviewed Jamila on my podcast before, the Knucklehead Chronicles. And she was a complete inspiration. Still is to this day. Shout out to you, Jamila, if you hear this. But in that time of my life, it was such a fog for me. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had mixed feelings. Even with Courtney, I was, dealing with my feelings with her. I was mad at her. How dare you put me on the couch? And I had some animosity. I did, but I never spoke on those because it was just for what? You know what I mean? So I just never spoke on those. It was just funny. And so I go out to this foreign state. I might as well have been across the water. I might as well have been in Russia somewhere. That's kind of how it felt. I mean, I didn't know a soul. So I had to pick up and do what the Romans do in Idaho. I was a homebody. I didn't go anywhere. I delved into the social media thing because it was easier. I didn't have to go nowhere. It was just me and my mic on my phone, on my iPad at the time. And I did a show called The Common Sense Show TV. I did that down in my basement. Had a green screen behind me. And I would broadcast on Facebook Live through my phone and my iPad. Now I would do my iPad. I would do Twitter or Periscope, and on my phone I would do Facebook. It seems like so long ago, but 6 years ago. It's crazy. But they were my saving grace. But here's the transparency of it all: is that the entire time I did the Common Sense Show, and I love the Common Sense Show. I dropped a lot of nuggets on the Common Sense Show. Here's the cold water. I was lying. If I can just be completely honest. I was putting up a facade. Not that I was trying to be malicious. I was trying to be hurtful. But the truth was, I was telling lies. I was completely bamboozling everybody. Maybe not everybody. I did just enough to make it look good to other people, right? Truth is, I was completely lying because I was having, inappropriate conversations with people, exes, the whole time, right? And I'm sitting on here, I'm standing in front of a camera or a phone, and I'm telling people how they should do this and that and the third, and I was lying. All of that, though, to serve my ego. Why? Because it's easier to serve your ego than to be truthful with yourself and other people. Because if I can feed to you the nonsense that, I'm this and I'm that and the third, that I'm doing my job. I'm making it look good. Like I can sit here and say, yeah, I did that, or I made that mistake, whatever, and still be doing it behind closed doors. And I come to find out that wasn't hurting anybody but myself, and worse, hurting my wife. Well, at the time we were still boyfriend and girlfriend, and that's part of the reason why things happen the way they happen, or I did what I did. My mindset was, well, she's my wife. I can do what I want. You know what I'm saying? She's just somebody I live with. So I didn't take our situation serious. At this point in time, we've had Terry Jr. Terry Jr.'s already been born, and all that. And it was just, it was a time of my life. And the first couple of years in Idaho was extremely confusing to me. I went from working in a casino to losing that job to moving furniture. Shout out to Steve and Lisa with Full Moving Company, Mallory and her mother. Started moving furniture, quit that job, started working at a nursing home as a dishwasher and a cook. Shout out to Andy. And it was just, life was just confusing. It was hard, right? And I just tried to make it out. I tried to make sense of it all. I just couldn't figure out. I mean, life was just nuts, right? So I'm working at the nursing home. Andy Casper, who's my chef Andy out there. I think he's still doing it. But he gave me a chance. I was doing dishes, and one day he came in. He said, we lost one of our cooks, Troy. No, it's Eddie. I can't think. I think it was Eddie. He came to me. He said, "Terry, you want to be a cook?" And I said, "I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how much you pay me." And so we went and had a meeting and gave me a pay raise and all that. And I became a cook. But at the time, that was, it just wasn't enough. It was so much pressure. I want people to understand that there's so much pressure. That's why it's important that men take care of their mental health. Because I lived under so much pressure and had no idea that I was doing it, that eventually it just took a toll. And then, and on top of the pressure that was already there, I'm self-inflicting wounds. I'm just shooting myself in the foot every chance I get by doing whatever I want to do and having inappropriate conversations with people and all that. So me and him have a meeting. They gave me a pay raise. I started cooking. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more. And then I went to work for Sprint. I was working with Sprint back in 2018, 2017, 2018. And the first boss, my first boss to hire me, his name was Jared Finn. Shout out to Jared in out there. He's out there in Oregon now, I think. And to this day, me and Jared are still friends, right? It's my dude. Anyway, so I go in. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind, Jared was 21 years old when he interviewed me. Jared was 21 years old when he interviewed me, and he was the district manager of like 10 stores in the Idaho area. And good-looking brother. He was giving me 60. Jared's everybody 6'3", 6'4". All the girls loved him. He was a youngin', smart, brave from Utah. So, everybody loved him, right? And we interviewed, and he loved me. He's just like, I love your attitude, And then my store manager, shout out to, I can't think of his name right now, Philip. Shout out to Phil. He was like, yeah, we want you on the team, and I was like, all right. And then I had the crew that was there. It was Chad. Chad's still my homie to this day. Chad Vaughn. Shout out to Chad. Yvette. And it was another young man by the name of Tristan. Tristan Bellevue was the son of my wife's former best friend, Tiffany. And so at the time, though, when we worked together at Sprint, they were still running. So that was tough, right? Because Tristan was a youngin'. He thought he knew everything, and that's how they roll, though. That's how the young ones do. So we had a great team. Working at Sprint, things were coming about. Okay, I was meeting people, making a little bit of money, this and that. But like I said, the struggles of life at that period of my life, and it was still. Now by this time, we had been there 2 years. Right, we had a baby. Terry received he didn't receive his diagnosis until the next year, 2019. But 2 years, we get stuff established, and it was so hard. And some of these things I didn't tell a soul because I just suffered in silence. Right, that's the problem. That's the problem with most men and how we deal with our stuff is that we suffer in silence. I had so much stuff. I was doing these daily morning shows with A.D. Walker and Pastor Brian McCrory, and we call ourselves the Brothers of Legacy. And when we first started the Brothers of Legacy, it was me, A.D. Walker, and the brother named Travell Lynch. Travell decided he didn't want to do it no more. Didn't tell us, left. I was salty. I was like, you know what? I got enough going on in my life. This brother, you know, doing that show in the mornings on Facebook was a saving grace. You know what I'm saying? Because I had nothing else to do. I was venting to myself. I would leave the house and I would get in the car and I would go and just drive and then just be venting and ranting and cussing in the car. And then come back home and be okay. You know? How many of y'all have done that? How many of y'all have got in the car and because you didn't want to say anything to anybody else, you just got in the car, started cussing, hitting the wall, punching, throwing kick, a kickball, and you RKO and shit because you don't want to be that confronter, right? That was me. I didn't want to be that confronter, so I said I'm gonna lay back in the cut and not worry about it. But I was hurting myself. I was hurting my wife. And it was at the time again we wasn't married yet. We were still boyfriend and girlfriend. Funny story about that, and I'm gonna hit this point and I'm gonna go. Let's go back to Jackpot, Nevada. Melissa wanted to marry me, right? And I wanted to marry her. The problem was I was still legally married to Strawberry, right? And so we were getting ready to plan a wedding. Now, at this time, we live in Jackpot. We were getting ready to plan a wedding. Now, she had no clue that I was still legally married to Strawberry. Because I didn't tell her. It's one of those things that, and the reason, and to be fair, this is the reason why I didn't tell her. Because I didn't think that we were going to last long enough for it to matter, if I could be honest. And I don't think she knows that, and she will listen to this no way. But to be truthful, I didn't tell her that I was still legally married to Strawberry because I figured that we was not going to be together long enough for it to matter. But when she started talking about marriage and all this other good stuff, it was like, okay, this is different. No one had to say something because I can't marry this woman, and I'm still legally married to her. That's big. Polygamy, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called now. But you can't marry more than one mofo at a time, right? So, eventually I tell her, I say, we can't get married because I'm still. Now we were halfway through planning this thing. We thought we was going to have it down in Vegas. We was halfway through planning it for real, and I had to tell her that we had to hold off on it because I'm still legally married to my second wife. And so, of course, when I look back over our 6-year relationship, my wife and I, man, I done hurt her on so many levels, so many different times. It's not even funny. Sometimes you gotta self-reflect. You gotta be like, did I do that? Did I really do that? I can't believe I did that. But she has stood by me. I don't think that I'm not paying for my choices. I want everybody to know that. Any man that's listening to this, do not think that you are not going to pay for your choices, because you better believe that sweet ass you are going to pay for your choices, right? Because what happens when you start doing stuff like you start killing trust. You're starting to eat away at the trust, and once the trust gone, you can go ahead and forget it. You can almost chalk it up. It's not going to happen, right? That's what happened with us. And no different. But we pulled it together, and then we got married in 2019. We had a real wedding. My mother-in-law paid for the venue. Dad paid for the wedding. Never really went out on the honeymoon or whatever. But we got married, and we had the suit, the tux, the ties, best men, the flower girls, all that. After I divorced my second wife, I had to, that she ended up paying for. Melissa did. By the way, I'm not sure how she did that, but we filed for divorce, and all that. I got it done, and we got married. Listen, y'all, and I say all that to say this. Y'all know me. Shout out to Dwayne Goodson. He always say that. He used to say that all the time. I said all that to say this. Don't waste people's time. You know what I'm saying? It took me a minute to realize that, because I could have said, okay, I'm holding this queen up from her real man. I mean, I don't know who I am. I'm just, I was a complete, utter shamble. It was a mess because I wanted to do what I wanted to do and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Just really crazy stuff. So that's what happened. I mean, but I'm telling you, first year in Idaho, second year in Idaho, man, I promise you, I was so lost. I did things because I thought that's what everybody wanted me to do. I mean, it's just really bananas. But we're going to get into that. In this side story of the origin, we're going to get into the Idaho Chronicles, the Idaho year 1, year 2, or something like that. I think that's what my title is. Because, man, life changed. And, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for the change. So, hey, I'm going to end it right here. But listen, the next chapter 17, I'm going to tell you guys some more stories. This is a storytelling podcast. So, I'm going to tell you some more stories. And you're going to be like, seriously, Terry? You did that? You know what I'm saying? This, seriously? But I made some boo-boos. I really have. I made some tremendous missteps in my life. But we'll get into it. All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget the Knucklehead Chronicles live, Knucklehead Chronicles podcast live panel edition does go live this Sunday, May 1st, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube, Roku TV with the BS3 Network, and also on Facebook. We'll see you guys next time. All right, have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't fry your brain too bad. Come back through and give me another chance. You can listen on all platforms and visit us at knuckleheadchroniclespodcast.podbean.com. Until next time, in the words of the incomparable Jerry Springer, take care of yourself and each other.